Well, boys, it is another sad day for the history books as one of the absolute legends in the last basically millennia, I guess you could say, has just passed today. And, or at the time of this video releasing yesterday. And to me, it was absolutely shocking how I figured this out. Because a random guy came up to me at work and was like, man, did you hear Ozzy pass? And my brain is not good with names, especially on the spot, basically. Like, if you come up to me and you said probably my best friend's name on the spot, I would just think you're talking about a random guy. And that's just how it is with me. Like, you have to be so specific that I don't understand. So when this guy said Ozzy, I was like, man, who's Ozzy? Who's that? And he's like, you don't know Ozzy? I'm like, I don't think I know an Ozzy at all. Like, I'm sorry for his passing. And then I came home and I looked at this article, and turns out it was Ozzy Osbourne. And I feel like an absolute moron that I didn't put two and two together, but it is very, very devastating. And if you don't know who Ozzy Osbourne is, here I will play a short clip of basically probably the most famous song he has, if I had to guess, that like almost every single person knows. So let's play, I'll play that now. Yeah. So if you've ever heard that song before, that was Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath, and they've written legendary music for a very very long time, and it's just one of those things where you never really expected someone like this to pass, right? It's like that every life in general has its time and has its time that will come eventually, but it's always very hard seeing it with like actors or musicians or whatever it is, especially because it's a lot of the time these actors and stuff pass due to like an illness that's just like unforeseeable, basically. Like no cure, no nothing, just like here's this illness that afflicts you. But I think something that's really cool about Ozzy, at least, is like in his final days, it kind of seems like he knew he was coming up to his time, basically. And he played his last show. From what I read, he basically played his last show in his hometown stadium. And he was pretty messed up while playing the show, apparently. But he powered through it because he probably knew it was going to be his last show he ever did. And that's kind of sad to think about, but there is genuinely a massive thing behind like people do understand when it's going to be their time to come, especially if you've gone through a lot of sicknesses or health issues over the years. And this is, I will say, for Black Sabbath as a whole, this is very sad for them, and I'm glad to see the direction that they're taking with this, right? Because they are raising like crazy awareness for Parkinson's disease with children's hospitals, and just trying to help as many people as possible that were afflicted basically by the same things that Ozzy was afflicted with. And one of the main reasons that he passed away was because of these things. So I will say though, one of like the biggest W's, right, through Ozzy's entire life is even though he was dealing with sickness and just overall health issues, he still got on stage and he performed. He was him when it came to like performing, And I think that's just like absolutely legendary. It's like stuff like this is like stuff that people don't really know about. Like if you just listen to the song, you don't know about his health issues. You don't know about the fact that like he is genuinely hurting while standing on stage, and then figuring that out, I think is just an absolute W. So here is a paragraph from the article. In his final bow, Ozzy seated on a throne, reunited with Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward in a historical set at his hometown stadium, marking the first time the original lineup performed together in over 20 years. So this was basically like the ultimate throwback to the beginning of his career and the beginning of who Ozzy was essentially. And I think that's just an absolute W. I'm glad that going into his like final days and everything, he probably had it planned out like really well and genuinely lived life to the fullest. At least that's what I'm hoping, because that's kind of the stage that he put on, at least. And I'm sure there was a lot of background stuff that was going on too, that like maybe he wasn't able to really say out loud or something like that, you know, when he was sickly, or days he couldn't get out of bed, or something like that. I'm sure there was a lot of times like that. So just the fact that he still got out and he, you know, tried to be with family, tried to still put on a performance for the audience, is just absolute legend of a man. And it goes like, well, another thing is like, we just lost another legend, you know. And I think that's like one of the saddest parts about it, is we truly lost another legend. Um, you know, for me personally, it was Robin Williams was like the first one, because like Robin Williams like was another one where he just created such legendary content, whether it was like funny movies or whatever it was. But eventually, he got to that point where he was also very sickly, and because of that, he ended up passing away as well due to his own circumstances. And if anybody wants to look into this more, I would recommend going and like reading the article. I will leave a link to it in the comments below. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Ozzy Osbourne. You know, did you really mess with Ozzy Osbourne? Did you mess with Black Sabbath? I'm sure maybe Black Sabbath might continue, but it'll never be the same without Ozzy Osbourne. Like, let's just be for real. Even if they do continue, it's just nothing will ever top their 1 billion like listen to song. You know, more than a billion realistically, because I'm just looking at Spotify stats. So it's like nothing's ever gonna top that. Nothing's ever gonna top how passionate he was with the band as overall, and how passionate he was to continue performing even though he was sickly. So, you know, once again, really, this is just a tribute to Ozzy Osbourne and his final days. And, you know, long live Ozzy Osbourne, absolute legend. And uh, and I really believe that within his final days, he put on like a crazy performance one last time for us. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say today. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Peace.